Hi, I'm Dr. Marcus.
And I'm Charlie, and this is the Mood Booster Podcast.
In this podcast, we share tools, tips, and evidence backed advice to help boost your mood, improve your well being, and find joy in the everyday.
We talk about life's highs, lows, and everything in between, with real stories and reflections from our own journeys.
Rooted in pillars of introspection, connection, and presence, this is the home of well-being and joy.
This episode is on pets, isn't it?
It is indeed a lovely episode, a real sort of nostalgic one actually. We go through our pets and the pets that we had. I get a little bit teary talking about the death of one of my pets, which actually leads us on to talk about how pets sort of importantly and why we're here can contribute to your well-being or lack thereof, and some very fascinating psychological theories as well.
And some good research showing into how pets can actually help improve our well-being, why we have pets as well. It's a fantastic episode. Hopefully you love it. Let us know, and let's go.
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone.
Buongiorno.
Welcome back to episode 18.
18.
Episode 18. Today we are speaking about pets, aren't we?
Yes, we're speaking about pets and how important our pets are. And yeah, just pets are so important for our well-being and do so much for our mental health, our mood, and like I say, our well-being. We both have lots of experience with pets, so I thought it would be lovely to talk about and reflect on our personal experiences with pets. As always, bring in some, we both find very interesting psychological theory today on why pets matter to us from an evolutionary perspective, why
Very
pets,
interesting.
the dynamics that go on there. And then, just some tips or advice or, general comments around pets and how we might use pets to better support our mental health, or how we might deal with the loss of a pet, for example. Some sad topics today, talking about pet death.
We all love pets, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
We all love our pets.
It's going to be brilliant.
It's good to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's good to see how our pets can help us.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
I think we should get into it.
Let's do it.
Pets.
No, actually, hold that thought. Charlie, talk to me.
About what?
What have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Just before we do, peek behind the curtains. Charlie's still on holiday. God bless him.
I'm still on holiday,
God
guys.
bless him.
I should say hi to my future self.
Skirting around the...
About the Adriatic Sea.
Adriatic Sea.
I think it is the Adriatic Sea.
Yep. So we're really going into the last week of activities.
We're just recording.
For breakfast today.
Whoa. Well, I'm just going to give a little to my future self in Croatia. Hopefully you're having a lovely time. Thank you.
Oh, that was so wholesome. That connectedness was just lovely there.
It's just speaking back and forth.
How is he?
He's having a great time.
Yeah.
Linen shirt, sailing a boat. It's great.
Naturally.
Couldn't ask for more.
Has he got any shoes on?
No. Are you serious?
Is he eating raw meat?
I don't know about that in Croatia, actually.
Right. Raw milk?
I don't know about that in Croatia.
No.
Maybe like a fries. Tzatziki, that's quite Greek.
Is he doing some animal crawling along the floor?
There's some animal flow.
Okay.
Some pull-ups and handstands there on the harbour floor.
Nice. Is he doing an ice bath?
No, they don't really have those in Croatia.
Right.
Yet to make over there.
Okay. How many Andrew Tate videos is he watching?
Okay, I do not watch Andrew Tate. We are not making that a thing.
2 weeks in a row.
Was that last week as well?
Yeah.
You said it. Did you actually?
If the shoe fits, I mean, just wear it.
I don't wear shoes. We literally spoke about
Valid
this.
point.
I don't wear shoes.
Guess who else
Barefoot. Who?
Anyway, how's your holiday going?
Holiday's going well, thank you very much. But in terms of what I've been up to before the holiday,
Talk to me.
we were since we last spoke, we went over to a barbecue, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
At our friend Dimitri's house over in East London.
Lovely.
Hi, Dima.
Thanks for having us,
Hope
Dima.
you're well. It was a barbecue that he hosted once again. I think I mentioned it previously on one of the episodes, actually, the last time we went. Every now and then he hosts a lovely barbecue over in East London where he lives. I was with him or living with him for about 2-3 weeks prior to living with Marcus. When I was in between flats, that old chaotic time.
Yeah.
Lots of fun.
That
old chaotic time.
Yeah.
But so I was living there briefly. For those who don't know, he's a friend who I used to, back a while ago now, train jiu-jitsu with. And since I've stopped training jiu-jitsu, quit, moved on to bigger things.
Bigger and better things.
Bigger and better things. Life is bigger
More
and better plans for me.
more pence Dima.
So yeah, no, just went over to his house for a barbecue yesterday evening, which was lovely.
Yeah.
Very much, I know it wasn't quite your sort of bag, but organic, grass-fed meat,
Oh.
skirt steaks, bone marrow,
Mm.
the whole lot.
Yeah.
Just sausages. It was a sublime barbecue. Homemade tzatziki, salads,
Yeah.
sourdough bread. It was a sublime barbecue to have.
Eating meat is disgusting.
Whoa,
It's
mate.
just
Okay, can we let's
we're in 2025. Why do we still need to kill animals to survive? It's just so
Gee.
weird. Anyway, I was there, obviously having a lovely time.
Yeah, you can tell what
I was
the
having a lovely time, but everyone knows that I was vegetarian, and I was just trying to keep it like incognito. But obviously, I come with my seitan because I'm not gonna about to be like make me my own food. And then it becomes a topic of conversation, and someone's like, "Why are you vegetarian?" I'm like, "Do you want to know? Because I don't really want to talk about it in front of all of these people, but if you want to know, I will let you know." And then yeah, it just carried on, and then just so much meat en masse. I'm just like, do we really need to kill this many animals and eat this much flesh to have a good time?
Mm.
But seeing you guys, it was quite funny. It was like the two females that were there, and then the males that were there, and the males were like, "Oh my god, bone marrow! Oh my god, it's amazing, amazing!" And then the girls were like, "What is it like?" Da, da, da. I was like, "This is just a really funny interaction watching this." Um,
It's delicious stuff.
yeah,
The bone marrow
so
is it's like gold.
interesting.
It's like liquid gold.
Yeah,
So nutritious.
liquid gold.
Literally
Interesting.
is.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's
Mm,
tasty. Mm.
mm.
So yeah, the actual barbecue itself was lovely, even though you
Great
didn't
time.
agree with it.
Oh
It
God,
was
no! I had a lovely time. It was really sweet
yeah.
because I could tell Dima was very being very kind and was un he didn't need to be because I was absolutely fine. I was having an amazing time, but he was worried about me being a vegetarian, and every time anyone would speak about meat or be like, "Oh, this bone marrow is amazing," I could see he like looking at me being like, "Is he okay?" And I was like, "I'm good, Dima. It's all good. Thank you."
I did splash a bit of the bone marrow onto like a slice of bread, so he
Oh
moved
yes.
it away and cut up some bread for you,
Yeah.
which was good.
Yeah, no, it was a lovely
It
evening.
was a good evening, wasn't it?
Yeah, interesting one. It made me think about because it's another podcast I listen to,
Mm.
very famous etiquette coach, William Hanson talks
Oh
about
yeah.
when you go to like a dinner party. This is Help I Sexted My Boss. When you go to a dinner party or whatever, the etiquette on when you should arrive and whether it's like
Mm.
rude or whatever to turn up late. But apparently, it's also bad etiquette to turn up to a dinner party, I think, just on time.
Mm.
The host, I'm sure Dima wasn't even thinking about this, but just in general,
Mm.
you're supposed to not turn up exactly when they say because it's kind of being overzealous and a bit too much. It's like if it's a dinner party with fewer people, you're supposed to be like 5 to
Mm.
10 minutes after.
Okay. Was
Because
that why was that?
well, no, I just because he said something like just come just after 6, and I was like, okay, well, I don't really know what that means, so I'm just gonna do a hard quarter past just to make sure I'm not annoying. And if I didn't know the situation, so I was like, I'm
Just sat on
just
a
gonna
bench, just kicking your feet, just
yeah,
wait.
I was just chilling in the park, having a nice time in the sun.
Lovely. Yeah.
And then yeah, brought a nice candle over, which was lovely. I was
Lovely
quite
candle.
jealous
You are
actually, because
good. It was a lovely candle.
yes,
Smelled
smelled
brilliant.
lovely. In
Very nice.
Columbia Road.
Colombia Road. No, it was
Yeah, no.
lovely, wasn't it?
And
We
then we
also
played.
met his new partner,
Oh
Holly.
yes, Holly.
Hi there, Holly.
Hi, Holly.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. She asked for a shout out.
Yeah, and played Avalon, to which,
Oh my
of
word.
course, naturally, I was amazing.
Ooh, I do
After the first,
actually.
I'd made a boo-boo the first round. I thought I'd caught Charlie out, and it was just really embarrassing because
Oh,
I went hard on it. I was like, "See, I know you're the bad guy," and everyone was like, "You only know that because you just made a huge mistake."
for a bit of context, Avalon's a bit like Traitors, where the overall premise, if you haven't even seen Traitors, the
Or,
overall premise is you have the good guys and the bad guys.
or Mafia.
The bad guys have to secretly, without being found out that they're bad, sabotage the game, is basically the premise.
Mm.
I was a bad guy in the first round, and one of the rules is if you're a bad guy, or if you're a good guy, you can't act as a bad guy. Marcus seemingly didn't hear the rule, act as a bad guy. So when I came out that I was bad, you like, I knew it. You were there
I
like
knew that.
leaning over the table, pointing, like accusing,
I
and
was
then
so like avid about it, and
me
everyone was
and
just looking at me
Dima,
like, "What are you doing?"
and then Dima and I, who were actually bad, were looking like, do we say that the game's ruined or like
Yeah.
because he's not actually bad? Anyway,
Ooh, anyway, the next round immediately was phenomenal. I was on fire, and I just
do you remember you
I
was like,
won
"I
the game
can't say
for
the
everyone.
question." We did win the game, didn't we? It was
Yeah, I
great.
planted that
That was
question.
great.
Yeah,
That was
honestly,
fantastic from you.
phenomenal.
It's a good
The
game, isn't it?
immediately, so it's a great game, and it's like Charlie said, like traitors or mafia.
Yeah.
So you are just if you're the bad person, you're trying to sabotage the game, and
Mm.
you don't want to be caught out. So me, I was against another person, and I was naturally, obviously, I was a good person. So it was him and myself. So we put the cards in. He sabotaged it, and I tried to save the game or whatever it's called, pass the game. So everyone now knows one of us are bad, and it was literally just him and I for the rest of the game, just being like, "Well, we're at a stalemate. Neither of us can say anything because we're literally one of us is just lying to the rest of the group. So should we just not talk to each other or say anything?"
The
Uh,
funniest thing is, so there are a couple of players in that game as well who have special powers. One of them being Merlin the Wizard, which
Merlin's
basically was
beard.
I was I was Merlin for the game. Merlin's power is that he knows who's good and who's bad, but he can't say it because basically, if the bad guys know who Merlin is at the end of the game, they try to assassinate who they think is Merlin. If they get it right, the bad guys win.
Immediately win.
So I had to very discreetly, even though I knew who the bad guys were, convince the rest of the good guys who was bad, so that when you, who I knew was good, and then John, who I knew was bad, were like arguing, I was just sat there just watching, knowing full well that you were good and John was bad. Then John turns around and I was like to John, "What do you think? Like, are you good?" He's like, "100%." And he says, like, for 3 minutes, he's on this monologue about how he's good. And I'm just sat there just looking like, wow, yeah, wow, wow, wow. Okay, cool. And then he's got no idea that I'm just there knowing he's bad. It was quite funny. If you're into any sort of board game, Avalon is a fantastic one.
Yeah, and I will say, even if you're not into board games, we know I don't have the most patience. I usually struggle with board games and just getting
Yeah,
a bit like, okay, can we do the next thing now? This game was great, had a great time, and not only because
Avalon.
I was good at it, but I think it's just fun anyway. Even if I was
Mm,
losing, which I felt like I was for quite a bit of it because no one would believe me. I
yeah.
still was having a great time because it's just, I don't know. I was like, okay, well, don't believe me then. It's still just entertaining.
No, it's fun, is it? I
Yeah,
do like
so
that sort of setting where it's not like a massive house party. It's also not a formal dinner as well. It's just a nice chilled evening where, again, I know you don't quite see it like this way, but lovely organic grass-fed meat on the barbecue, like actual healthy food, and then you go and have like a lovely evening. It's just quite wholesome, I think.
yeah,
I like it a lot.
sublime.
It's fun.
Mm,
So that was our evening yesterday,
it
wasn't it?
was. Yeah, I also got into some heat yesterday on Instagram.
Oh yeah. Oh, here we
I tried
go.
matcha for the first time.
You tried
Well,
matcha.
it tastes like grass.
It is like soil.
Is that how you pronounce it? Matcha?
Matcha. Yeah, yeah.
How uncultured of me. But yeah, I tried it for the first time yesterday,
Mm,
and put it on my Instagram story that I didn't care for it too much. And my gosh,
a
I
torrent
mean,
of abuse came your way.
I know my USP. It's talking about matcha. The amount of DMs were just flooding through, and then because it was comical, I was like screenshotting the DMs and then putting them on my story, and then basically people were indirectly arguing with each other
Through your comment
through my
section.
through my DMs, but with that person that was on my story, and it just became so beefy. Everyone's like, "You need to go here," and then someone else was like, "That person doesn't know what they're talking about. Go here," and I'm like, honestly, I do not care about this thing. And people are like, "You've not never tried a real one," and people are like, "Oh, from Australia, it's so much better. It's rubbish here," and all of these things.
It's just
I was like,
realistically, anywhere you go, it's like grass cuttings. Genuinely is, I
yeah.
think.
Well, I think people were saying go to places like Old Street or Leon and stuff because it's really good, but then other people were like, well, it's just sweetener, so it's not actually the matcha you're having there. And send a whole list of other ones that were as actual matcha.
Crikey.
Um, and then yeah, people from like my sister-in-law who's from China or someone who used to live in Australia were like, it's because it's rubbish in England, that's why you don't like it. But to be
Mm.
honest, I just I was just laughing hysterically on the tube
Yeah.
home reading all of these messages last night, just being like, not in a disrespectful way, but the level of my level of care for this situation
It's
is
not
just
matching theirs.
not. Yeah. Uh, and ironically, I said I'd had a matcha because I had too much caffeine in the coffees I'd had prior, and then
Mm.
Money, our friend, replied being like, "There's still caffeine in matcha." I was like, "Oh well, there we go then."
I think the whole premise of
Um,
matcha is that it keeps you a lot more of like a stable level, I think, of energy instead of having a peak and then a trough like
that's what the
with a
server
coffee
said to
does.
me.
Was that what they said as
They
well?
said it was like it's a stable, so it's still slightly got caffeine in, but it's takes longer to
Release.
release,
Yeah, that's what
and
I thought
it's
as well.
more of, like you say, a stable thing.
Yes.
So
Call me the matcha king.
Matcha King,
I've only been to one matcha bar in Shoreditch,
naturally.
of course. In
Where
East
else?
London, of course, of all places.
Where else?
Yeah, that's just not my bag.
Not your baggy.
Not my bag.
Mm,
I'm just not a huge fan.
fair enough.
Have a coffee.
Yeah.
That's tasty.
Well, I do like coffee and I like the taste of coffee, but after two coffees and then a decaf, it's kind of a bit
Yeah.
excessive. And I'm wanting to drink something. And I think also where I was working from cafes all day, it's kind of after a couple of hours, what do you continue to order? Because
This is going to sound a bit ridiculous, but this is the crux of the working from the cafe
mm,
situation.
mm,
What are you going to order? 10 coffees?
I know,
What are you going to do?
first world problems.
First world
I
problems.
know it's just nice to mix
People
it
in
up.
Bali be like, what do I order? I've been in the cafe now for 8 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I could sit in the park and hotspot from my phone, but the work I was doing yesterday was quite data heavy.
Tell me about it.
Like, I'm downloading gigabytes of things, which respectfully, I'm paying for my own data. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
uh, so yeah, I don't have unlimited data. So anyway, God,
Matcha.
that got boring all of a sudden. Jeez, Louise, sorry about
God.
that one.
Uh-oh. We're going to lose
I
people.
know, but what was lovely? So many lovely pets in the park when we were there.
Oh, that's great.
So I was in London Fields, and there were loads of lovely
I
pets.
do wonder,
Oh yeah,
are pets good for our well-being?
no.
Fair enough. Well,
Bye.
that's it, guys. Thanks for listening. That's it. Cheers.
Great, what a great segue.
Cut.
Cut.
Yes.
Yes.
A lovely
So,
pet.
pets.
What's
Talk to me. Or do you want me to go first? Tell me about your pets in your past.
my pets in my past? I've never had a dog. I'm gonna come
Oh,
straight out of it.
that is
With
a neglected childhood.
well, I'm one of 3 brothers with for the
Okay,
majority of our childhood a single mum. So that's not really been allowed to add a dog into the mix as
fair
well.
enough.
It was a chaotic household, so I think cats always fit well,
Yep,
or it's fitted well.
yep.
We had a cat called Bonnie
Oh,
back when I was younger.
Bonnie.
Bonnie, lovely cat. I don't really recall lots of Bonnie, to be honest.
Okay,
My main memory with Bonnie, unfortunately, which we can get into later, is Bonnie dying.
rip.
Yep, I came out of school. I remember like year 3 or 4.
Not year
My mum
4.
greeted me outside of the school gates, crying. Bonnie's passed away. We
In
got
the school
home at
gates.
the school gates, straight out the
Tracy,
bat.
wow.
She broke the news straight
That
away.
was...
And I remember just being quite confused about it. And we got home, the rigor mortis, which is when the cat will stiffen up, had set in. So we got home and it was raining and we had to bury her under the apple tree in the garden.
That's a beautiful
Yeah,
word.
it's a lovely memory. I remember Felix and I
The
we
rain.
were digging a big hole. This is actually with my dad, actually. It must have been ages ago.
What,
We were digging a big hole.
what were you doing?
We were digging a big hole.
Okay.
Yeah,
For the listeners as opposed to viewers, Charlie's doing a lovely digging action here.
there you go. Digging a big hole
Hmm.
for her to rest in under the apple tree,
Under the rain.
under the rain. Had a few hamsters here or there. I
And
think
I'm still...
Felix had a couple. Pikachu 1, Pikachu 2. Pikachu 1 passed away within 24 hours due to wet tail, a disease common in hamsters.
That
So
is
we went back to the
unfortunate.
pet store, bought a second hamster.
Mm,
That's questionable, the whole hamster scene in the UK.
yes, it is.
The whole thing's very questionable.
It's not great.
It's very commercialized and just buy it like it's a toy
Yeah.
for an
Talking
animal.
of,
Go
just a
ahead.
quick aside.
No, go
I went to a
ahead.
garden centre once.
Yeah.
My regular Let's Say Garden Centre at home. Big
Mm.
up if you know. And they just had a fish delivery. Seeing those fish, how they're delivered, I was perplexed. Is that the right word? I
Yeah.
was just gobsmacked.
What was the word?
It's like just sandwich bag after sandwich bag, all just on top of each other. Just no, so they're in water obviously, so they can breathe, but they can't swim or anything. It's just flat packed fish. It was insane. I was like, what on earth is this? And obviously that's how they're transported. Just flat packed
Jeez.
fish in these plastic bags, just on top, piled on top of each other. I was, yeah,
I do
wow.
question like hamsters, fish. We have them for the display.
Yeah.
You're not gonna care after. I mean, maybe some people are, but on the mass, I don't think you would particularly care after or really love a fish.
I don't know, as an ex-fish geek.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I love fish more than the next person. Don't get me wrong. I love aquariums. I think they're really cool.
You don't like
I
eating them?
studied them. I don't like eating them.
No.
I studied them though. But in general, when I'm saying more pets,
Mm,
conventional dogs, cats, I completely get it. It's part of the family, but
yeah.
do you see little Nemo in the tank over there as part of your family?
Some people do, and I
Yeah.
don't want to take that away from them.
No, you're
And
right.
some people are very connected to their hamsters.
Yeah.
We had a elite hamster once,
Did you?
intentionally because of the same reason.
Mm.
Adopted him as opposed to bought him.
Mm.
So I don't know the difference, and maybe we were just hoodwinked. But Pets at Home have like a pet adoption section as opposed to the buying, where they have other pets to adopt as well, including cats and things.
Oh,
Not in
lovely.
store, but they arrange it. And there's a hamster there who was slightly older and couldn't be homed. So it wasn't I don't think it was a buying him thing. You just whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Called Boris, the
Boris.
better Boris.
Boris the hamster.
And he was the most sound bloke I've ever met. He would just chill with you. He just loved you. He'd like sit on your head and just have a great time.
That's elite.
Yeah, unfortunately didn't last too long because he was obviously quite old already. So rip. He died after, I would say, even less than a year.
Oh, wow.
But
Hamsters
he
don't
was a
last too long, do
great little
they?
champ. He was there for our first year in living in London.
Great little champ.
And then we got Norbert, who was just devil reincarnated. Um,
Norbert.
yeah, well, he was Ginger and our old housemate Nor. Hi Nor, I know she's listening. So he was an ode to Nor, but
Norbert.
unfortunately did not share any qualities other than the hair color, because
Mm.
he was just a menace. And yeah, he bit Nor's sister. He just wasn't the best hamster.
This was Pikachu
But
too.
understandable, you've got this giant thing trying to pick you up or whatever. So ultimately, we just didn't want to stress him out, so just basically left him to himself because
Yeah,
obviously he just never liked humans, and that was just unfair for him.
that's quite funny.
Um,
Pikachu 2 was the same.
yeah,
I do think part of it was Felix never fed, or my mum fed him eventually, but Felix got bored.
eventually.
Eventually, my mum fed him. Felix got bored of Pikachu 2, so I think he stopped feeding him. And thus
Pikachu.
Pikachu 2 stopped feeling what the emotional connection, what the feel of a human touch was like. Lost that spark of love. And so whenever one would try to pick Pikachu 2 up, he would try and dig his way through to China through your hand when you picked him up. And that was Pikachu 2.
That's on
Lasted about a year.
Felix.
It was completely
That's
on
on Felix
Felix.
and his neglect.
It was on 8-year-old Felix for not being
Felix,
emotionally in touch enough.
you're 8. Goodness sake, have some
Get a grip,
responsibility.
Felix. So that was the hamster scene. And when do we get? We have a cat
Scene.
called Pepper. The hamster scene. That was the hamster era of the saga.
Yep.
We now have an amazing cat called Pepperoni,
Pepperini.
Mrs. Pepperoni. Back home, I've since moved out, of course, but Pepper still is living strong.
She's pretty sound.
Pepper
She's
is a sound.
beautiful.
She's a beautiful lady. Pepper is gorgeous. She's tiny,
She
beautiful
is.
cat.
Half Bengal,
We've had half Bengal, half Tomcat.
beautiful cat.
Beautiful cat. She's how old is she now? I don't know. 60 human years, I
Oh,
think. What's that,
okay.
like 8 or 9? No, 7.
7.
7 years old. So she's definitely getting there. Very, very wise cat. You know, you can speak to her for ages and just revel in problems.
Is she a cat? Does she bring in mice and things, or is
She has previously. I think since she's gotten older, she's stopped.
Okay.
She's very much. She loves people. So like it used to be in the street, she'd roll over and ask for the rubs on her stomach.
Oh,
Just
wow.
yeah, literally
Cats
with
don't do
anyone.
that.
Cats don't typically do that. She loves that sort of stuff.
Fickle.
Yeah, I know. Well, since we started going away on holiday, where she noticed a pattern that she'd be going to our neighbour's house,
Right.
and they'd be feeding her, they'd be looking after her, which we didn't love. And now it's gotten to a point where she'll happily live in both houses, and we do
She
not
knows
like
what
it
she's
at all.
doing.
And the neighbours will go so far as to send us a picture, even when we're there at our own home. Pepper's here, haha, on the bed. I remember Felix,
That's
who's
such
got
a
the
dis-
closest emotion to Pepper, feels so betrayed. This harlot, this common harlot is, you know, walking on this brazen hussy. Felix is using all these funny words, just throwing them around. Pepper is treating me with disrespect. He's taking it so personally that Pepper goes away.
That's so funny from the neighbours
Yeah,
just being like,
your
"Your
cat
cat's come
is
to
in
our
our
house.
house.
What a mark of
Look
territory."
at her.
Yeah.
So that's the cat that we have now. And then since moving with you guys, Mr. Tobins,
Mr. Tobins.
Master Tobins.
Mr. Means.
Yeah,
What a guy.
That's my history of pets. So no dogs. You've had dogs, haven't you?
Yeah, so let me talk you through my extensive pet list.
Break it down, Marcus.
I'll break it down. Hold my mic.
Getting jiggy with it.
I'll throw it back.
For the listeners, we'd appreciate you not.
For the viewers. Um, God, where do I start? I was born with pets.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've always had so many dogs and cats and guinea pigs and chickens and whatnot. So
Mm,
born, Fluke was in the world, and at the time, Carly. By the time Carly passed away when I was like 2, so it doesn't really count. She
yeah.
was a red setter cross lab, I think. Apparently, by all accounts, an amazing, beautiful,
Wow.
intelligent, lovely dog. But we'll skip past Carly because, respectfully, it wasn't really part of my experience. And we're here to
Mm,
talk about my experience, all about me, and you, obviously,
of course.
naturally.
Here and there.
Um, then we had Fluke, sound bloke. He was a mischievous old thing. He was a
Oh,
Springer
pal.
Spaniel,
Oh.
notoriously mischievous animals.
Mm,
He ate everything in sight, apparently. Again, I was quite young. I think he passed away when I was still like 4 or 5.
mm-hmm.
Um, but sound bloke. He just a naughty chap by my mum and dad's recollection. Then we really get into it with Ella. So we got Ella when I was 2. I think she replaced Carly, and then Fluke was still around. And Ella was a black Labrador.
Mm,
Now, she was my first experience of a real pet, like I would say, because
yeah.
Fluke, I was still too young when we had Fluke. She was an incredible dog, extremely intelligent, extremely obedient. Black Labradors, they are. That's why they're bred for being guide dogs and all the
Yeah.
things. Um, was always sort of that dog that was everyone would be like, oh my god, she's pure pedigree. Her coat's so shiny. She's the most beautiful Labrador. We've seen that sort of wherever you'd go,
Yeah.
she would be complimented. One sort of not we didn't train her for this. I think it was just like a one-off thing.
Mm,
I can't even remember. It might have been a family friend that took her when we were on holiday, but I think they were looking after her while we were on holiday, and she won obedience trial in these dog show things.
what?
Yeah,
Wow.
really cool. She was just a lovely dog, and yeah, like I say, my first experience with having a dog, and I personally think dogs I have a stronger connection with, which I'll go into when I start to talk about the cats. Um, but she, yeah, was just, and I think also was my first experience of emotionally connecting with an animal.
Mm,
I remember sometimes being sad as a kid over nothing in particular, but sort of even potentially like crying with the dog.
yeah.
And sort of, you know how kids have teddy bears or whatever. The dog would be that sort of support and physical sort of comfort,
Got it.
which was lovely. She was a bit where she was very clever and all those things. She was also a bit serious at times. She didn't really love other dogs, and
Mm,
she was quite not temperamental, but I guess sensitive in that way.
yeah.
So anyway, that was her. She passed away when I was on my ski trip
Oh, no.
in with school in 2013 or 2012,
Mm,
2013, because I was in year 13. So was in Nassfeld ski resort in Austria. Little did I know the dog was ripping.
jeez.
Um, yeah, Labradors, they don't live too long. I think she lived to, I don't know, however old, just like 15 or
How
whatever.
how was that for you when you're on the ski trip?
Well, I didn't know, and my family didn't tell me till I got home, which I think personally is better
It
in
is,
that
yeah.
instance, especially with like something like a dog. If it's like a family member going into hospital or whatever, it might be different because it's yeah. But the dog, there was nothing I could do in that moment. I was still in school. I was still with all my friends, so they just waited, and then I got home, and yeah, I think it was a bit of a shock, obviously, and was
Yeah.
sad and upsetting and all those things. Yeah. Um, at the same time, we had chickens growing up, guinea pigs, rabbits.
Mm,
So I was very lucky to grow up in sort of a lovely house in the countryside with sort of I wouldn't say acres plural, but it was I think like an acre of land or maybe a bit less.
yeah,
But
okay.
it backed onto then fields, so we'd have always in the garden some sort of yeah, like I say, rabbits roaming around, chickens roaming around,
Mm.
those sorts of things.
I love that. I think that's
Um,
great.
yeah, and it was actually one of the reasons I'm vegetarian. One, I don't know if this is a planted memory from my mum telling me this story. Probably more that than my actual memory. Um, just really fascinating research on memory and planting of memories, which I teach my students at uni. I'll share one day in this. But so many of your memories, more than you'd think, are planted as opposed to actual memories you experience.
Planted
Loftus and
being
Palmer, we love you. As in some researchers in memory. Sorry,
oh,
I'm
got it,
just
okay.
nerding out.
Yeah, it's cool, yeah.
Um, planted is so someone gives you a bit of information, even subliminally, that you don't even realize they're giving you, and then
Wow.
it's a false memory. So you then create a memory around that information. Um, yeah, there's a whole study. I think it's not Loftus and Palmer. They did the eyewitness testimony of how fast the car was traveling when it
And the
crashed,
memory.
which, yeah, I
The
think you
you.
know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I still think Loftus did this, but not Palmer. The being lost in a shopping mall experiment with people. I don't know
Mm.
if you remember this from A level. But they basically, in a certain way, which I can't remember the specific details, told participants about a time that they were lost in a shopping mall when they were children, by showing images or something, and that never actually happened for those participants. And by a way of manipulation and control variables and things, which I can't again remember the details, the majority of participants, who none of them of which were lost in a shopping mall as children, when they had this subliminal information fed to them, all all recalled being lost in a shopping mall as a child.
Wow.
Some of which, even to the point of, it's not even just remembering it, they remembered specific details about it. So they don't only just have that memory, they then bring on information.
Wow.
Anyway, I said I'll talk about it in a future episode. Now I'm just talking about it
You're
here.
just talking about it. No, it's
Fascinating. I love
cool.
it so much. Anyway, so I don't know whether this is a memory from, it's probably my mum telling me, but in the garden as a child, playing with the chickens, not, yeah, just around the chickens, probably 4, 5 years old, 6 years old,
Mm.
and then came to the dinner table, Sunday roast, chicken on the table,
Mm.
sort of that time when you gain sort of consciousness and
Yeah.
understanding. And then I was like, oh, what's this? And then mum's like, chicken, and I'd be like, that's a chicken in the garden. And then just was sad immediately to think I was eating, and probably at that time I thought I was actually eating the chicken
The
in the
chicken.
garden.
Yeah.
So
But
even
that
from
thought of
then,
you thinking it was a chicken probably led to a lot of where your decisions come from.
yeah,
I
maybe,
mean, it probably fed into it,
yeah.
along with other things, of
Fed
course,
into it,
but
yeah.
pardon the
Um,
pun.
pardon the pun.
Yeah.
So yeah, that had the chickens and the rabbits. We had Bun and Bo, the rabbits. I don't remember the story, but apparently I think Mum thought they were both girls, and it turns out one was a boy. So then we had litter of baby rabbits, which was cool.
That's really cool.
And then we get into the cats. So I
Mm.
told you, buckle up.
Buckle up.
We basically had this old geezer Sebastian. Now he's a geezer to the, like, the gaffer, the godfather.
Yeah.
Black and white cat, just a proper G. Would go around the like the village and the fields, just seeing all the other cats living his life, having a great time. Anyway, he lived till like 24 years old, which is
Damn.
insane. Yes,
24.
24 or 23, I can't remember, but mad
What?
scenes. Yeah, my parents got him when they were, I think, near enough when they got married, and then I was like 9, 10 when he passed away. Yeah,
My word.
insane. Anyway, what a G. My mum is a freelance hairdresser, and won't go into all the details just because it's not very nice. But anyway, she was at someone's house cutting hair, and there was a young boy there who definitely would have been a child that I would have studied in my PhD into conduct disorder. Was just abusing all of these pets in the house, and the the family were just breeding these cats with no control, and they were just reproducing, and he was abusing this cat that ended up being our cat at the time my mum was there. And my mum, not knowing what to do back in the early noughties, was like, oh, I actually was looking for a cat. I might take this one with me if that's
Oh my
okay.
word. That's brilliant.
So anyway, this cat who, um, just from the abuse that was sustained, or the what happened, wasn't completely. She also didn't have a tail,
Oh
unfortunately.
no. From this
And
kid.
yeah, and
God.
uh, was just not necessarily all there as a cat.
My word.
Head injuries, basically. Unfortunately,
Oh
horrible.
no.
Um,
How
anyway,
sad.
so she was a kitten. We had her in our house. Tiggy, big up Tiggy. What a, again, legend. Um, and again, like a year later, just pregnant out of nowhere, and we're like, frick. We live in the countryside. It could be any cat. She was a tortoise shell, so ginger, black, white. I think that's what tortoise shell is, but that was her colours. Gives birth to all these cats. They're all ginger, all tortoiseshell. That very last kitten, Shoopy was its name, French name, to come out black and white. Sebastian, at the ripe age of at that time like 21,
Oh
the
my
dirty
lord.
dog.
That's more than dirty. That's criminal. What? And this small cat with no tail was a Was it a kitten? Or
Well,
was it
no, she would have been uh, an age where she had reproductive
of
functioning, like
course.
probably like one or whatever. So
Oh my word.
in cat years, that's quite old, I think. Or
Yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know the age, but anyway, regardless,
we're
she
going
was
into some, yeah,
yeah.
weird territory.
But
Oh my
anyway,
god.
Sebastian, we could barely even walk at that stage.
And he's still going. Let's go, Sebastian. My man's
Anyway,
keeping up.
naturally, we kept Shoopy because she looked like Sebastian, and it was a nice little family situation.
Bred out of Sebastian's just sheer will.
Anyway, so Sebastian passed away not long after that.
That was his
Fatherhood killed him off.
final huzzah. His final
Yeah.
gift to the world.
Uh, and then we had Tiggy and Shoopy for several years,
Mm.
and yeah, they were my first experience with cats. Tiggy was so lovely because she was just a confused cat and she didn't really know how to function properly.
Oh god.
Um,
This awful kid.
she kind of that Sebastian was around, but kind of kept himself to himself.
Mm.
Um, Tiggy kind of was raised by the dogs that we had in the house. I
Mm.
think maybe it was mainly just Ella at that time. Um, so she couldn't meow, but she would growl in like a weird way. It was so weird. It
Mm.
was, yeah, she didn't meow but would growl and would like follow us on walks, which I mean is fine in the countryside anyway. But we'd go for a walk with the dog and she would just come with us. And yeah,
Mm.
she was a really cute little cat, a little bit ugly, but
Oh god. Ugly ass cat.
yeah, I didn't realize. And then I since we like got Figaro, the next cat, and I was
Mm.
like, okay, that's a beautiful cat. These
Yeah.
slightly ugly. Anyway, so yes, then got Snoopy. Now Snoopy was like my pinnacle of what a pet is.
Yeah.
So Ella was amazing, but I'd say from 2 till early teenage years, it's not fully. Snoopy was yeah like 11 all the way through till 24, and the
Wow.
formative years. So I went through so much in that time.
Mm.
Yeah, so my parents split up, moved to university. My dad passed away, just so much. And I think that's what we'll get onto today in terms of the emotional support that animals can provide. But
Yeah.
Snoopy was just the most incredible dog. She was known by everyone around. She was like the university mascot for the lacrosse club because
Oh,
everyone just
amazing.
loved her.
Yeah.
She's a black cocker spaniel and just one of those dogs that I know a lot of people say this about their dogs, but I mean, it wasn't the case for Ella or any other dog that I know personally, but she was just everyone knew her and she was such a character and
Mm.
just an incredible, incredible, lovely dog. She had epilepsy.
Really?
She went through it. Yeah, she had
Did she have
epilepsy. Yeah, she did. It was
seizures?
so scary the first time. We had no idea what was going on. And then whenever it would
Wow.
happen, I would be just freak the hell out. And there's nothing you could do other than hold their legs together because when she's having a seizure, she can't control and her legs are spreading apart. And dogs' legs aren't
Because
supposed
of
to
the
spread apart.
pelvis.
It tears their heart muscle.
Oh wow.
So it's just really scary and not fun.
Do you have to sort of
Yeah,
sit there and
yeah, thank
watch?
you. Uh,
A wasp just buzzed in Marcus's face there.
yeah,
Do you have to sit there and watch the seizure?
yeah, you do. It's not
Wow.
fun, and I am not very good with like medical emergencies in that way. I mean,
Mm.
I am if it's just me and I have to step up, but if I'm kind of if I don't need to, I get a bit. I'm like, could someone else help, please?
Someone will step up.
Anyway, she was a wonderful, wonderful dog, and unfortunately passed away in 2021.
Mm.
Um, yeah, she just grew to an old age and ended up getting a tumor on the side of her cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and it was actually outside of her body, like her exterior, which
It
was
was an external.
a really weird experience to see slash even smell and just all the things. It was
Really? It's the
horrible, and
smell.
it was just really sad as well seeing it. Yeah, disgusting smell.
Seriously.
So you're like here with your pet that you've loved for years and know and just care for them so much, but
You don't
there's
want to.
just this thing, and it's just yeah. Anyway, it's just a really
That's
hard
sad. I'm
experience.
sorry.
And so then we ended up having the vet towards the end. The vet came and sent her into her retirement.
Wow.
Um, and that's a really hard thing, I think.
Yeah.
Also breaking that down of a pet euthanasia,
Mm.
and because you feel a sense of guilt around that and doing that to them and seeing, oh my God, just yeah, that was a whole experience. When she passed away, obviously there supporting, being there, it was just so incredibly sad. And even just thinking about it now, I get like emotional just thinking about that day and everyone being around and just watching her it happen. And it was just really, really horrible. kind of was numb the whole time, um, and just drove home numb, just
Mm.
didn't say anything, um, and just got home and started wailing into Ross, one of our housemates' arms, and just broke down. It was just horrible. And it was probably not only the loss of that pet who was so important to me, and I think pet loss is very, and I know pet loss is very undervalued or invalidated in terms of bereavement and grief.
Yeah.
So that in itself is just enough of a thing to be able to wail and be sad about. But also I think it was the release of years of sort of confiding in this pet and having emotional support from this pet, and the association of the things I'd been through in terms of my childhood, and like I say, my parents divorcing, my dad passing away, was just all of those things just sort of unearthing in this symbolic release of this pet going.
Yeah. So his pet
um
was yeah.
it was so sad,
Mm.
really desperately sad, and
Wow.
still makes me feel sort of lump in my throat as I'm talking about it now.
Can I ask,
um
was part of the grief that you felt when Snoopy
mhm.
passed, was part of that through your dad as well? Was it like an extension of it?
I think, yeah, without,
Mm.
yeah, for sure, I think so.
Yeah.
um Yeah, I don't know to what extent, but yeah, even if I was being introspective at the time, I don't feel like you can really quantify how much is what is what.
No, of
But for
course.
sure, I did know that she was always the emotional support through everything, including that. So in her being, you know, retiring, so to speak, her passing away, it was kind of a release of all of that. But also, it was an unearthing of a experiencing death again.
Yeah.
The last time I'd experienced that was when my dad passed away, and in both instances, which is hard to think about, I was there for both and watched both happen,
Yeah.
and both of them sort of taking their last breath. Really sad, actually. So yeah, it's
You
sorry, I
okay?
didn't expect to get sad. Um, yeah, it was a sad thing, and it was really
Mm.
sad. And like you say, you're right. It was definitely a sort of reliving that experience again, which was obviously the worst thing any human can go through. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it was that. All I can say was it was really sad, and I was grateful to have support around. It was funny, not funny, but she was put down, and then the vet left and took her with him. To do everything that needs to be done. And I went out to my car to start packing up, and like an old school friend and her mum walked past, like classic village situation. And I was just there, like,
Not
nothing
now.
against them, but I just do not want to speak to anyone right now. And
Yeah.
it was just like the classic immediately switch it on and be like, oh, yeah,
How's life?
yeah. And it was
Oh,
just
what an annoying
awful.
time.
Yeah, it was not ideal.
Jeez, worst timing possible. I was like, good, thank
um,
you. Just been walking around.
But I can say
Wow,
firsthand how important pets are, and I
of
know, but
course.
also how the loss is just so significant and important.
Yeah,
Yeah, and she will always be such an important figure in my development and my memories.
yeah.
Um,
That's so lovely that you've been able to have that figure, like the beauty in having that figure at such an important age
yeah,
shapes you so, so well. So, like, you're so, not only just for your emotional support, but able just to sit with Snoopy and remember her as being a just, not just a mascot, but everyone's best friend and an extension of your family as well.
yeah.
So, so much that, yeah, you can feel this deeply.
I was so proud to have like a dog that is such a cool dog that everyone
Mm,
loved. It was really cool, and she was just such a lovely dog and such a nice little character. And spaniels are quite fickle in that way, and she was fickle in a sense of you could at uni she would go to someone's house and just be there fine,
mm,
and people would dog sit, and she wouldn't be like nervous about it. So fickle in that way, but also such like a loyal, caring, loving dog as well. So yeah, she was a lovely dog. Um, Coming back out of that one, just to touch on the final lineup before we go on to sort of maybe the theory or what our experiences beyond what just listing our pets. We have Figaro, another absolute don. He's just stepped into
Figaro,
Sebastian's.
yeah,
He's stepped into Sebastian's spirit, spiritually and literally his shoes very well. Another black
yeah,
and white cat that my brother got for my mum.
because he looked like
Yeah, I think
Sebastian.
so.
Yeah,
And we called him Figaro because if anyone's seen Pinocchio, he literally, as a kitten, was the spit of Figaro, the little kitten in that Disney film.
yeah,
And how he was mischievous as well, and just the most adorable little kitten. I'll put a
yeah,
picture in the carousel.
yeah.
Honestly, the most beautiful little kitten.
The godfather of
He
cats.
he is, and he now walks around with his metal leg.
Just
I mentioned this
elite.
before
I
in an
think you have
episode.
still. Yeah, cool.
He has a metal leg because it was mauled by a dog or run over, we don't know, and so didn't have any bone structure, so now has a metal leg.
Walks around,
Um, and he's
massive
now,
pipe and cigar, just
yeah,
there, just puffing a top hat.
he's just there walking and just dragging. Now he's older, the
Oh,
arthritis and stuff is obviously kicking in around the leg, just dragging his leg around, but still with so much power. And it's just, what a G.
cats are like that when they get older, aren't they? They're just lone warriors, but
Yeah,
they just power
they just
through
keep
it.
going.
They just power through it.
Yeah.
It's remarkable, isn't it?
Peggy sounds the same.
Hmm?
Peggy sounds the same. No, Pepper sounds the same. Sorry.
Peggy,
Sorry, that's our
are
housemate's
you
cat.
kidding me?
Pepper sounds the same.
Peggy,
I'm
who's
sorry.
Peggy?
I'm sorry. Molly's cat.
Oh, is it
Yeah.
Peggy?
Pepper sounds the same. Also, when I met her, I got that vibe.
Pepper, yeah. I mean, she's had a fair share of injuries. I think I've told the story, but yeah, one day we saw that both her back legs had been shattered. Whether it's been hit by a car or fell out of a tree, we don't quite know. But it was a Sunday. It was the super vet
Yes.
story that we were
Yeah, yeah.
saying. But since Pepper, she had to wear a cone, was in a cage, and her lower body just downwards was completely shaved. It was the saddest sight I have ever seen.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey. They're just being dragged around on her front
Oh,
legs.
God.
But since she's just like since that happened, very much a wise aura
Yeah.
now is like with her. She now has this sort of overall like she's seen some stuff, you
She's
know.
the G.
She's a G definitely, so it has that sort of
Nice.
overbearing presence. Be like, yeah,
Nice.
I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, Figaro's very much at my
Figaro,
mum's house now, walking around, owning the shop.
3 legs.
We have Safi, who's just the most. She's our current dog. She's the
Yeah.
family dog. Less my dog as Snoopy was because I was around then. Still see Safi to be mine, but very much like my mum's dog.
Mm,
She's a black cocker spaniel again. Just the most adorable little, timid, but in a good way,
mm,
just lovely little dog. She just wants to please everyone, and it's just so. She's also such a beautiful dog,
yeah.
just a lovely little dog. And Lexi as well, who's my brother's dog, who lives at my mum's house at the moment. She's also a golden cocker spaniel. She's like my brother. She's a very strong character.
Got it.
She knows what she wants and will do that.
Okay.
And if you ask her or tell her to do something else, you can forget it.
Do you think pets adopt the characteristics of the people they have been adopted by?
I think so, yes.
You think?
And that comes from conditioning.
Of course.
For sure.
Pepper is just like my mum. They're like the exact same person.
Yeah.
If Pepper was obviously a person,
Yeah.
they have the exact same traits, the routine. It's all just synced up
Yeah.
because they spend the most time with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
I think pets do that.
It is, yeah, it's funny. It's funny like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that leads us up to Tobeans.
Tobeans.
Our little G. I think we mentioned last week, but he adopted us. He arrived in February 2023 at the back door and never left. We did all the things to find his owners. Don't think there was one. And where we used to live, there was a bit of a thing apparently, where people would come and go and just leave their cats behind. Like they
Jeez.
would move to different countries or whatever and just
Really?
leave their cats behind. Our neighbour, who we borrowed the cat cage off to take him to the vet to find the owners, there were none. She was like, "Yeah, this happens all the time. Our cat that we own now was left behind by our next door neighbours,
Wow.
and was just starving on the street, so we took him in."
Who does that?
It's sad, isn't it?
It baffles me that people have the capacity just to leave an animal like that.
I know.
Baffles
Anyway,
me.
we put all of the notices out, all the text messages out, no microchip. We put a thing, we gave him a collar and put a note on it for weeks and weeks and weeks and just never left. And
And Tobeans is like now. here
Tobeans is
forever.
now Tobeans and is our cat, little black
He's
cat
got
with a little
fat
white
paws.
chest. Gave us some drama.
Oh my word! I think we mentioned it. He sliced his leg up.
Yeah, honestly. The
Blood pool.
The cut was not proportionate to the amount of blood that was all over the house. We literally thought the worst. Got up on Friday morning and were like, what on earth has happened? Rip Tobeans, basically.
Where is he? Where's his
Finding his
body?
Yeah. Anyway, just a little gash on his arm. But
Yeah.
now he's walking around with a cone of shame. He has a completely different cat. It's like he's
Oh
lost
my
all of his
word.
brain cells. He cannot function. And I think the whiskers are so important for their functioning, and he just cannot do
It's
anything
so funny.
other
He's just
than meow.
walking into like a wall and just stopping there for a minute, just and then processes he's walked into a wall, then will back up really weirdly in this sort of weird walk for about 30 seconds till he hits a wall, will stop there and stare, like the 1,000-yard stare, as if he's just been absolutely bombed by napalm. He's just like, he's just there terrified, and then will just slowly walk forward until he bumps into the next wall. And then will just look at you,
Cats are so
lock
funny
eye
like that.
contact for like a minute, just staring.
Yeah. With
And you're
its
like,
giant dilated
what are you doing?
pupils.
And he just then just looks elsewhere and then just backs up again. It's like a broken Sims character. I've never seen anything like it.
It is so funny when cats malfunction because they're supposed to be so sophisticated and calm and cool and collected. So when they do
Yeah.
something that's like derpy, it's just hilarious.
Have you seen the whole cucumber thing that you can do with a cat? If you leave a cucumber
Yes.
behind a cat, it sees it.
Scared of cucumbers.
What is that? Is that like a
I
snake? Is that
don't
what it
know.
thinks it
I
is?
don't know. I'm not sure.
Hell no.
But anyway, that's the lineup of pets.
You've
We've
got a
had
lot more
some.
of an impressive saga than I do.
We've had fish in there. We've had all of the other things in there. But
Yeah.
for the sake of, I've already been a very long time talking about my pets. Yeah, it's that's the history of them.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at
Quick
today.
one before we move on. If you could have one pet, what would you have?
Dog.
Yeah.
For me,
Straight in.
I love cats,
Yeah.
and I don't want to compare because they do different things, but ultimately, from a holistic perspective,
Yeah.
I get more from a dog in terms of my well-being,
Good answer.
my connection, my exercise,
Mm.
all of the things that we'll probably unpack here,
Yeah.
before we close today. I get more from in a dog. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. I love the cats, especially affectionate ones that reciprocate your affection.
It's not the same though.
Yeah, also you can't predict a cat to do that. Most dogs do. Cats do their own thing.
Cats also hold
Um,
grudges and hold moods as well. Genuinely,
yeah,
whenever I've come in from whether it's a long time at university, traveling, whatever it is, I'll come in. The cat sees me. What are you saying?
yeah.
You left.
What are you back
Now
for?
what?
Yeah.
Look at you, chump. That's
Look,
that is what
look
I'm
what the
getting.
cat dragged in.
The cat just sat there. Look what the cat dragged in.
Look what I dragged in.
Look
Actually,
at
I wouldn't
you.
even drag you in.
Pathetic. You think you can leave for that long? Where have you been? It's 3 a.m. It just spits my feet. Pepper was never happy. It would take a day or two to warm up, and then she'd eventually come around and be like, yeah,
I
all right, I
guess.
do like you.
Yeah.
That's it, though. That's all you're getting.
Mm,
For now, that's all right. Then it walks away. But with
yeah.
a dog, it's,
They love
it's like
you.
anything. You haven't seen them in 10 years.
Mm,
You give them a bowl of food, whatever it is, you are the god in their world. You are
yeah.
a deity.
There's so many dog things of, even when you say that, like reconnected with long lost dogs, and after 5 years they find their owner or whatever, and you see those stories on social media and stuff,
Yeah.
they never forget, and they're just elated to see their owner, and those things are just so beautiful to see.
Cats can't match up.
That sort of human to animal connection, I
Mm,
don't think slash no is just not as strong for
I
cats.
don't think it is.
No, don't get me wrong. I feel like if you love cats, you love cats.
Felix is a cat lover to
Felix,
the
the
max.
feline lover.
My younger brother is a. If there's ever been a cat person, it's been Felix.
Mm.
When I was younger, I asked him what his dream was, and it was to start a cat cafe.
Oh, that's cool.
Genuinely, he
Big up
loves
Cat
cats
Cafe.
so much, more than dogs,
Okay. Yeah.
by a mile.
See, I feel like if you love dogs, you can also love cats. Whereas people that are into cats are very much like cats are the be all and end all,
Dogs,
and I don't need
you can
dogs.
take it or leave it.
Yeah, that's obviously a generalization.
No,
but,
it does seem to be
I
that
do
way.
see that.
Yeah, I think Molly's a cat person, isn't
She
she?
is a cat person.
And doesn't really like
She's
dogs.
not fussed about dogs.
Felix and Molly are very similar in terms of personality, so I
Yeah.
completely get it.
It's just a way, and I think
Mm.
maybe it's also an underdog thing. Pardon the pun, but people like cats obviously aren't as cherished in society. Well, historically they might have
Historically,
been,
they're more.
yes. Currently, not necessarily as. So maybe it's like everyone loves dogs. I'm batting for the underdog.
Yeah.
Pardon the pun. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into something that's not there. But
It's interesting, actually. I know we don't want to speak about this much, but ancient Egypt, they worshipped cats, didn't they?
Yeah,
They held them at such a high
they did.
level.
I don't know much about why.
Unfortunately, neither. Episode
Neither.
2, Egyptian cats.
2.0.
2.0.
But yes, for me, it's just the dog situation.
Yeah.
And research does show. If
What
we're
does the
talking
research
of,
show?
well, hold that thought. I was looking into some research into pets actually.
Were
Funnily
you?
enough.
Why was that?
Funny that I did that. I don't know why. I was
Were you just interested?
so random.
Were you just Interested to
But
see
in
what will
terms of
happen.
attachment, people with dogs,
Mm.
this research I found interesting by Adrian and colleagues. No, not Adrian and colleagues. Who was it? Hawkins and colleagues.
Hawkins and colleagues.
2024, so only released last year, or published last year,
A
sorry.
recent
Not
study
released like a single. Uh,
dropped last year.
top 40. uh, Absolute banger from Hawkins.
Come on, tune.
Hawkins found that basically dog owners exhibited more secure pet attachment styles compared to cat owners
Okay.
who were found to have more insecure attachment styles. Now,
Mm.
breaking that down,
Break it down.
we the attachment theory is very much in vogue at the moment. Everyone's harping on about the attachment theory. You can't go on TikTok and not see someone talking about attachment theory. So I'm about to fall into that. But it's very much popular and everyone's getting into it. Get into attachment theory.
Yeah.
Um, Coined by Bowlby originally and then developed further by Mary Ainsworth. John Bowlby, sorry to miss your first name. Developed further by Mary Ainsworth and the Strange Situation Study.
Mm.
Now, how much we go into the attachment theory today and the origins of it,
I think we just what is the
yeah,
main difference
just
between secure and
basically,
insecures
yeah.
for like someone like myself who might not
This is
know?
interesting because this is our just peek behind the curtain. Our first ever mock episode. Charlie was asking me to talk about the attachment theory.
So funny.
Um,
One day I think we'll release the episode, maybe even on like a live tour.
yeah, when we
Uh,
do our live
in
tours.
our cabin in Scotland that we were camping in back in January, we did a mock episode. We just thought we'd see how the first everyone would go. No structure, no planning, just completely open. Within 10 minutes, I was asking Marcus, so what is the attachment theory? What are the different types? I don't know how we got onto it,
Mm.
but
Anyway,
rogue.
basically,
Yeah,
infants are born with an innate disposition to form an attachment to a caregiver for survival. I'm trying to keep it brief. That
please.
in terms of the theory, there are different attachment styles that we can form based on the reciprocity, attention, and care given from that caregiver in the attachment. Now there's okay, I'm not going to get into it. Basically, I enjoy it. I
No,
get
it's
carried
cool. It's cool,
away.
man. Cool, man.
The for to keep it simple, there are three attachment styles. There's actually a fourth, but just to keep it simple for the lay person, there are three broad attachment styles. There's secure attachment, insecure, and again, this is simplifying, insecure, and there's avoidant. So secure is where you are, yeah, kind of what it says on the tin. You're secure in your attachment. You have a secure base, aka your parent, your caregiver is a base there for which you feel secure and confident in. So when your parent goes away, you know that they're going to come back. You know that they're going to be nurturing, caring for you, and you have that trust and you have that confidence. Then that develops into secure adult uh, development, where you then are secure as an adult in your relationships. Basically, your attachment style as an infant provides you with an internal working model, which is basically uh, teaches you how to function. So your internal working model is dependent on your attachment style, and that model is basically shapes how you see the world and how you function. So if you're a securely attached child, you have a secure internal working model, which then
Mm.
allows you to be confident in your relationships and how you function as a human being, trusting in your friendships, your intimate partnerships, all of those things. If you are avoidant, the is not the opposite because it's not binary like that, but it just again, simply put, it's the opposite. So, um, you didn't have any attention. You was not neglected necessarily, but there was emotional neglect to some level,
Yeah.
or just not so much attentiveness, and the parent sort of left you to be independent and care for yourself. All of those sorts of things. It then means, as an adult, again, very simply put, and rushing through it, you are avoidant in that way, and you're very independent. You aren't emotionally connected to people because you don't have that understanding, or you don't want to do that because it's something that isn't what you know and learn, so you're avoidant in that way.
Hmm.
Very simply put, a lot more to it. Insecure is the one that everyone talks about
Yeah.
because it's the
It's the
one.
buzzword.
Yeah, it's actually called insecure ambivalent if we want to break it down further, but we'll just stick to insecure.
Hmm.
It's the confused one. It's the one where you did get some affection, but it wasn't consistent, and
Yeah.
it was sort of confusing, and your parent was there but not all the time, and they showed you attention but also invalidated your feelings, all of those sorts of things. It then raises someone who is insecure in that way, needs validation, seeks validation, wants it but is confused what they want, confused about the attention that they want, and isn't secure in themselves, so again relies on other people to provide that for them. um Lots of things, but basically insecure.
Yeah.
um And why we mention it is because pets act as attachment figures for human beings, and research shows that pets act as attachment figures for human beings. So, yeah, they provide a stable, non-judgmental presence, especially important for emotional regulation and stress recovery, which is what attachment figures also provide for human beings.
Mhm.
Which is why research also shows that pets are especially helpful for people with insecure attachment styles.
Okay.
Um, Very interesting. So it says here, I've got some. No, thank you. Sorry, I'm. Don't mind me.
I like your politeness and manners towards wasps. It's very, very
Is
polite.
it still? Yeah.
The no thank you is a very, very
No,
polite way
thank
of saying,
you.
I'm all right. Thank you, though, for your interest. I'm happy pass, though.
Yeah, so here's some notes I made earlier based on
Yes.
my readings.
Yes, yes, yes.
Pets can act as attachment figures, providing a sense of security and comfort. So, similar to how a caregiver provides that for a child,
Mm.
studies suggest that strong attachments to pets can be associated with positive mental health outcomes, while insecure attachments might lead to negative outcomes,
Yeah.
increased stress, all of those sorts of things. Um, so, yeah, just like human beings can be your attachment base, research suggests and shows, and evidence shows that
Animals
so
can be
can
as well.
animals, and I fully endorse and see
That's,
that.
yeah, I completely get
Um,
that.
Definitely, and actually for insecure people with insecure attachment styles,
Mm.
even more so because if you think insecure, you need validation, you need commitment. Well, you seek signs of those things more so because
Yeah.
you're less trusting in it. So when an animal who we typically see is to be loyal, they're dependent on you, they need you. For someone who's
Mm.
insecure, that can be even more helpful because it's all of those signs or validation
It
of your
reinforces what they're needing to see.
reinforcement of what you're needing to see, of your
Yeah.
connection, your reciprocity, your importance, all of
Interesting.
those things.
I like the part that you said about it as well. It's just like a non-judgmental way.
Yeah.
Animals don't understand basically what we're saying
No.
ever, so it very much can be very nice, non-judgmental. It's a bit like what we said. It's like journaling. It's a very easy way to open up to something or to someone, but you don't have. Oh my word! But you don't have. It's now gone. You don't have that fear of judge. You don't that fear of judgment. You don't have the fear of not being accepted for what you're saying or feeling because humans do have the capacity for that, whereas animals don't.
Yeah.
With obviously with journaling, it's just on paper. But with an animal, it's a real being. It's a live being.
Yeah.
So you have that like halfway point where it's not just you speaking into the universe, but it's also you don't have that fear of being judged because it's a very much a unbiased, non-English, understanding
Yeah.
sentient being.
Yeah, so true. I think it's a very good point. I completely agree with that. We always say, as you just said, if you can't speak to someone, try journaling because the idea, cognitively processing what's in your brain by putting it into writing, or even better, into speaking, the whole point is you're putting what's in your brain into tangible meaning because you're turning it into a language, and therefore you are actively processing it. So in speaking it, and having a pet enables you to do that, and to have that therapeutic action,
Hmm.
whether it's journaling or speaking. I personally think speaking is a step up from journaling, but
I don't think you
I
can.
actually don't agree with what I just said, to be fair.
I don't think that you should one
Yeah.
should compare them. I think they're both useful in their own realms.
Yeah, because also journaling, what I don't agree is because it slows you down so much and allows you to really be slow, whereas talking,
Yeah,
you're still going at a fast pace.
I wouldn't compare them. I'd say they're both useful in their own
Sorry,
realms and
I
capacities.
apologize.
No, it's
I didn't mean to do that.
no offense taken. It's fine.
Sorry, guys. We're all human. You can see we're learning as we go.
We're all learning.
Introspection and
But
inspiration.
yeah, speaking to an animal, very useful.
Um,
Interesting about the
It is.
attachment.
It is indeed, and like I say, being able to speak to someone just or something just allows you to
Yeah.
verbally process what's going on in your brain. So very interesting. Another interesting point, which I fully endorse. We know that I love the evolutionary theory.
This is really interesting.
Um, well, so we start with biophilia, which is the biophilia hypothesis. Basically, this isn't just relating to animals, but the biophilia hypothesis is the hypothesis that us as human beings are connected and should be at one with nature, and we seek to be at one and to be connected with nature. And in doing so, we feel spiritually, physically, and emotionally harmonious. Yeah, we have that innate tendency and that drive
Mm,
to be at one with nature and to be connected living beings with the earth around us, with the trees around us. We all have some connection via energy or whatever it is.
I
And
love
that
that.
hypothesis poses the theory that we are innately wired that way and we want to feel that connection.
Mm.
Um, and that this connection, when fulfilled, promotes things like calmness, reduced anxiety. It boosts our sense, like I say, of connectedness. And that shows how pets, being a species, a form of nature, is an extension of that. So an extension of the biophilia hypothesis, that we want to be connected with pets as an extension of being connected with nature. And I fully, again, resonate with that.
Yeah.
Um, Even more interestingly, I mean, this is, yeah, I fully endorse this and know this is not to be true, because you can't ever prove the evolutionary psychology hypotheses, but basically, for natural selection, infants, we believe, are born to look cute. And that is a phenomenon called a neotenous. So to have neotenous features is to look cute and to look infantile. So when you have neotenous features, like I say, you look cute, and basically that triggers something in an adult human to
Mm.
protect and look after. When something looks cute, you want to nourish it, to nurture it, and to help it. It's You get that feeling. You're like, oh, it's so cute. That sort of feeling.
Mm.
And from a survival mechanism or a natural selections mechanism, those infants that are born to be cuter
Mm-hmm.
are more likely to survive, because the adults then care for them, and then that natural selection, they survive, and that those sort of cute genes pass on.
Yeah.
Um, it is believed and suggested that animals have done the same thing. So back in the
Wow.
day, animals that were around humans, the ones that looked cuter,
Mm.
were then cared for by humans, given food, given scraps, given all those things, and therefore ended up surviving through natural selection. So then ended up surviving
Passing their
via,
cute genes.
yeah, so that's how pets have evolved to be, these quite wild, primal looking animals, to these very doting, big-eyed pets that we now see.
Cute
And
animals
humans have also become very much involved in
in their selection.
in their evolution
Yeah.
by breeding. But historically,
Wow.
they naturally evolved to have these neotenous features.
Neotenous.
Just as an example, big wide eyes, small forehead, big button nose, those sorts of
The cats. I
things.
mean, now more than ever, we're
Yeah,
we're literally breeding animals.
to
You
look
see it on
cute.
TikTok to look cute. These like tiny little dogs
Yeah.
with massive eyes and tiny little foreheads. Yeah,
Mm,
the little chihuahuas and the Pomeranians
yeah.
they're everywhere now.
So fluffy. You're so fluffy, I'm gonna die.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Wow.
yes, I just find that fascinating, and that's less from our perspective, but from an animal's perspective, why they
Mm.
potentially look the way they do is to help their survival, because humans promote that and protect them and give them the food that they need and all of those sorts of things.
That's really
But
interesting.
from us, we want to feel connected with nature, and we want that connectedness.
I
So
like how it literally says that from our own evolutionary perspective, we want to look after our young. So through that, we have an innate drive as a survivorship sort of bias, and we relay that into animals because they look a certain way.
mm,
Really interesting.
yeah, kin survival.
Kin survival. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really cool, and sort of shows some, from an evolutionary perspective, some of the drivers of connections between us and our pets, which I think is
Mm.
quite cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and obviously now, like, as we say, we breed pets, and they fundamentally need us to survive. They're completely,
Yeah.
uh, what's the word? Not tamed, but
Domesticated.
domesticated.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, obviously you have slightly wild animals, or what are they called? The dogs and stuff in
Feral.
feral. Yeah.
Rabid dogs. Morocco,
Um,
though, like countries like Morocco,
mm,
no one really has a pet. It's just more a community has pets, which sort of they're all stray dogs
yeah, stray.
in
That's the word
the
I was looking for.
stray dogs. Yeah. So when we were in that surfing town back in Morocco, in Tagazout, no one really had a pet. Like none of the
Mm,
dogs, none of the cats. They had collars on. They were all just walking around, but people would still feed them
yeah.
and look after them. It was more of a community
Mm,
style to having pets instead,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to each family has their own cat, their own dog, which is in their own home, which is very much more of like an ownership sort
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah.
It's different culturally, but it's interesting to see how, as humans, we still very much
Have that
integrate that
connectedness.
into our culture because we know it's good for our well-being.
Mm,
It works well.
yeah. I do find that interesting, because the cultures, or yeah, not necessarily, but certain cultures, don't like dogs as much, for example,
Mm.
and find them to be, scary or unpredictable, and I don't
Yeah.
know. But anyway,
I digress.
I digress.
I
A tiny
digress.
bit more research.
Mm,
I just think it's nice to anchor our reflections in also what the evidence is saying. 2012, Beetz of all names, and
beats.
colleagues did a big systematic review of 69 studies into pets and well-being, and
Yeah,
that's what we're here to talk about, pets and
of
well-being.
course.
So starting from there, this systematic review found numerous things from 69 whole studies,
Mm,
but the pertinent findings were pet ownership were reduced with lower cortisol levels in the participants. Cortisol being your stress hormone or one of your stress hormones.
yeah.
It's a chronic stress hormone. So um, it's for associated with not necessarily an immediate fight or flight or, a car accident, for example, but like long-term stresses like bereavement or whatever, work problems.
Yeah.
That's what cortisol's more associated with.
Yeah.
And this research found that pet ownership was associated with reduced levels of cortisol, so ultimately reduced levels of stress, increased levels of oxytocin, which is a pleasure hormone.
Hmm.
So happy hormone,
Makes you
feeling
happy.
happy, oxytocin, pleasure. And yeah, also reduced self-reported mental health problems or and improved, self-reported physical health as well,
Really?
across these 69 studies. Now, obviously, that's a summary of all of the
Of
studies.
course. Yeah.
And I can't tell you what each of those 69 studies, how they measured self-reported mental health, but their summary was that self-reported mental health was significantly improved amongst, as a general, the population of people with pets, which
Yeah.
I fully resonate with.
Yep. I completely agree.
Um,
For everything we've just spoken about,
all of the things.
having that attachment, having that
Um,
role model.
Connection. I literally remember as a kid, again, this wasn't necessarily about my dad or whatever, but as a child, just like I said at the beginning, crying into the dog and feeling so sort of comforted by that. The dog doesn't understand.
Dog has
But
no clue.
also, that depends because some people on a spiritual level, and I don't necessarily know how much we need to talk about this. But if you're spiritually inclined, some people do think your pets are fully understanding you.
I think, as we've said, pets mimic energy really well. I'm sure
Mm,
whilst they might not understand the word you're saying, they can very much tell the energy that you're putting out.
mm.
If you're sad, I mean, horses, you see it. There are literally been clips of
Oh my god, so
people
cool.
crying, and the horse will come over and try and look after it. Cows as well.
Yeah.
Very intelligent animals. Now, they might not be the traditional pet like a cat or a dog, but doesn't mean that
Little cows.
these like animals can't feel. I mean, cows are
Yeah.
very intelligent animals.
I feel so bad for cows
In what regard?
because we farm them and kill them.
Yeah, got it. Yeah,
They have such a tough life for
they
such an
do.
intelligent being.
Yeah,
Um,
so many animals do.
Pigs as
Whales,
well.
hmm?
Pigs are extreme. I
Pigs.
think
Yeah,
I could be wrong, but I believe pigs are more intelligent than cows.
I don't know to be honest.
Um,
Both are very intelligent
Super
animals.
intelligent animals.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, like you say, just so emotionally, how they are, we
in
don't know,
tune.
and will we know? Probably not. But they are emotionally in tune
I don't know
and
how we.
understand
I mean,
us.
I know with whales, for
Um,
instance, we obviously know how with incredibly intelligent animals, yet still whaling occurs in certain countries.
mm,
It's the same thing. Is these animals can feel energy, they can sense it as well. The main thing being, whilst they don't understand our words,
and fear, they have fear, which is
they
just
have
so
fear, they
sad.
have empathy,
Mm,
they cry when they lose loved ones as well. So these animals can feel it. So whilst they can't understand the words, it makes
oh
complete
gosh.
sense that when you're
Mm,
feeling sad and you're crying into your dog,
yeah,
it knows that and it can comfort you because
yeah,
that's what it can do.
yeah. I've seen it firsthand. Our cat Figaro
Yeah,
completely changed when Snoopy passed away.
really.
He just went into himself, like very insular,
Oh no,
those sorts of things. Yeah,
seriously,
yeah. It's really sad.
that's really sad.
Um, so yeah, you see it, and it's kind of why also I think people get as one pets. If they have two dogs, for example, as one pet's getting older, they always get another one to sort of make sure there's a
My friend used to do that to make
yeah,
sure that the puppy's the same way as the older dog,
yeah,
and to carry on a cycle.
yeah,
It was a bit like a factory sort of, of like a chain or like a churning out of a
yeah,
replicating the same dog. But I do get why.
yeah. But it means that the second one that's then surviving isn't left on their own and
Yeah,
sad in that way and all those things. But yeah, heartache in animals, I'm sure is real. Whether it's heartache that we know and how our cognition sort of puts meaning to it, we'll never
yeah,
know. But they still have those innate primal feelings,
yeah.
which is another reason we shouldn't ignore them. And it's just another example of these animals are feeling these things that we're feeling.
Of
They're
course.
connecting with us. we would be remiss to invalidate those and be like, oh no, I don't need to cry, I don't need to be grieving, when literally
This
if
animal's
an animal's
grieving.
feeling that with you, or they're feeling that, why should we as human beings not go
Not.
through that?
Yeah, it's
Um,
true.
yeah. So let the animals teach you to grieve.
We can learn a lot from our pets. We can learn a
100%.
lot from animals.
Loyalty, patience. I don't know, Toby's isn't patient these days.
Walking backwards with skill.
Jeez Louise. I'm not moaning because I don't necessarily love a lion, but the other morning, I've not had a lion for I can't
A
tell you for
number of
how long.
years.
And I, yeah, had an opportunity for a lion. 6 a.m. Meow, meow. Wouldn't stop,
What
just
was he like?
non-stop. Meow.
What was he like? Once more.
Meow. Woof.
Whoa. Moo.
Yeah. Oink.
Bah.
He was just non-stop meowing outside the door, and that cat's patience is not his
Yeah.
finest quality, to be fair.
I
But
think Toby, genuinely, lovely cat. I just think he's not that switched on.
mm,
I just genuinely think he's quite a simple cat.
I don't know.
I know I genuinely do. Like his actions,
Really?
I just don't genuinely. I've seen intelligent cats who've been in the presence of them.
Yeah.
I don't think Toby's has
Right
that
now
much going
he's
on
not for
upstairs.
sure.
Huh?
Right now he's not for sure.
I mean, right now, but even regularly, he just sits there, just like,
Mm,
you know, when you can tell a cat's got like thoughts and feelings. I
yeah.
don't know if Toby's has those
Fair.
thoughts.
I still haven't fully worked him out, to be
I don't
fair.
think we ever will.
We're still quite early in our relationship with the cat.
Don't think we ever will.
Uh, but yeah, no, pets. We don't deserve pets. I don't think we don't deserve animals. They're such amazing, loyal things.
Yeah,
And
no, they are.
what, like you said, then the whole thing is because maybe they don't have the cognition or whatever. They're non-judgmental and will just they're
Hmm.
so unconditional in their loyalty to you and their love
Hmm.
to you, which is just beautiful, really.
It might be the lack of understanding or the lack of the communication between us that we don't have that.
Yeah.
There's not that ability to judge.
I mean, Pepper does judge you when you go home.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever I
So,
leave for a while and I come back,
but that's cats.
yeah, it's not dogs. I feel like cats are actually one of the only animals who would hold a grudge as well.
Mm,
I've never had a horse or a pig or anything. I mean, pigs probably wouldn't come over bounding. But I imagine a horse wouldn't do that if you came back after a while. I don't
no,
know.
no, I
I
don't
can't
think they
say because I
would.
never had one. No, I can't say.
No,
Nay, pal.
no, pal.
Nay, pal.
No, pal.
No, it's funny.
So,
So, yeah, I mean, for you listening,
hiya.
hi there. Hope you're enjoying so far.
Yeah,
By the way, little check-in.
little check-in.
Little check-in right here. Yeah, we obviously want to come on here and give you some tools and tips and some advice
Hmm.
on, you're thinking, well, how can I get my pet to help my well-being or boost my mood,
Boost
maybe.
my well-being.
That's what we always want to do here. Give you the
Mm,
tools and tips. So we have some advice, don't
yeah.
we? Some tools and tips on how we can allow our pets to help us as well. One of the main things is the create a daily connection ritual.
Mm.
The second one being
Be intentional with and present with your animal, I
yes,
think. I
yeah,
like,
very much so. The third one is maybe movement motivation. I know we've spoken about movement, but get out with your dog or your cat.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, do we want to talk about grief as well in this?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So I just didn't know whether we should speak about it in the same context or not, but I think it's important while talking about pets to also allow yourself the space to do that. So I think just firstly understanding when you lose a pet,
mm,
actually understanding and validating that grief and understanding that it's just as real as losing a human, and it might feel different, but it doesn't mean it's any less valid.
of course. There's also talking about the loss as well, making sure that you're speaking about it.
Mm,
Again, now in our culture, we might not give as much to this grief or loss, so make sure to speak about it and normalize it as
yeah.
well.
I think giving yourself little sacred memorials or rituals to remember and honor that animal just
Completely
gives you some connection to them even when they're not with you. Whether that's a nice oil painting or a little park bench that you remember them by.
keeps their spirit alive.
Yeah, it keeps their spirit alive and it keeps them with you for sure.
Completely agree. Now you said a daily connection, or I said there, sorry, a daily connection
Mm,
ritual.
mm,
This is partly what you're saying towards the end there with a memorial or a ritual, but maybe this is more for when your pet is alive. Try and build in small moments of connection, whether that's an evening walk with your dog or, you feeding your cat in the morning and having 5 minutes with it instead. Creating that sort of ritual or that daily connection with it
mm,
can actually enhance your emotional regulation because it's that sort of routine bonding as well.
Yeah. I completely agree, and it's a bit like the movement snacks as well, which we said before.
It
Just
is.
the little small moments you can share with your pet that are just lovely little boosts of your mood. And yeah, I know that the science would back that, but I've seen it that
Yep.
that would boost your oxytocin and all of those things. Just a little pat pat there and a little pat pat here a pat there a pat everywhere
Everywhere
a
a
pat
pat pat.
pat.
There you go.
I think, yeah, secondly, speaking to being intentional and present with your animal,
Yes.
we obviously love presence here, one of
Of
our pillars.
course. Be
Um,
present.
I think just even acknowledging or understanding or knowing that the importance your pet can have on your well-being in itself is a huge power move.
Yeah.
Using them, not sort of using them as your form of therapy or whatever. Like, we're not saying replace therapy with an animal, but
No.
know that they are there and they can help. And in just knowing that itself, it kind of gives power to your connection with your pet, and they're not just some passive being that's in your
That's
presence.
floating there.
You can actually be present with your animal, and intentional to know that
Yeah.
gives you a lot of power in that connection and allows you to sit with that connection and again, in being present, as we always say, find that joy in that presence and
It can bring
appreciating
you a lot of joy.
appreciating that little moment
It can
there.
bring you a lot of joy.
Mucho joy.
Don't not appreciate it.
No, exactly.
Or appreciate it. Yeah, movement motivation. So as we've said in everything, moving, whether it's through movement snacks, getting out for a run,
Yep.
walking, whatever it is, this we know categorically through research and through our own experiences that movement helps our well-being and improves our mood. Use your animal to do this. Play with your cat, run around the house, go for a walk with your dog or a run. This bonding whilst doing exercise will help a lot
Yep.
to help improve your mood through the exercise, but also through the bonding as well. So get out.
And this isn't a set tip, but in line with that, if you don't have a pet,
Mm,
we're not sponsored by them, but Borrow My Doggy is a prime example. Is an app
yeah.
where you can, like Tinder for finding someone's dog, and they appreciate it because you can
Yeah.
walk their dog while they're busy at work, but then you get to go and walk someone's dog and have that moment of connection with an animal. So if you're in
Mm,
a position where you work too much and you can't, for whatever lifestyle reason, have a pet yourself,
mm.
there are places and apps where you can find animals to have these connections with.
Local
That's
shelters as
that's
well.
that's assuming that this it goes without saying that this is very much directed towards people that want to have these connections with
Of
animals,
course.
and not
Yeah.
everyone does that, and that's fine. But this is, yeah, for these people
If you're
here that,
craving that and you feel like you don't have the space for it,
yeah,
search it up.
yeah.
Borrow My Doggy.
Borrow My Doggy,
Sponsorship coming soon.
good old Badger,
Was that dog that you
dog
walked?
from Borrow My Doggy that we
Marcus
walked. Yeah,
walks badgers in his spare
oh,
time.
Badger.
He goes around finding badgers and walks them.
Yeah, he was a
It's
little
great.
G. There was another one, I can't remember the name. It was a boy's name, but it was a girl's dog. A girl dog. Not that, anyway. Yeah. That was so stupid. Anyway, it's a little sausage dog, a little character. It was so
A
cute.
Dachshund.
Dachshund.
A Dachshund.
So moving on to grief,
Yes. Interesting. You said there to
validating.
validate the
Yeah.
grief, realize it's real.
Yeah, I think so much power, as we always say, just comes from allowing yourself to sit with your emotions and knowing that they're real. I think even I've had colleagues who have had a day off work from losing a pet,
Yeah.
and one might be like, "It's a blooming pet, get over it." But that's,
My
for me,
granddad would be like that.
that's not what I'm here to do. Yeah, I know
No.
several people, even colleagues, other colleagues, who would say the same thing.
Mm,
What you're going through is valid, and it's allowed to be valid. And just because it's a pet, it's not just anything. It's a pet who's been in your life for 12 plus years,
yeah.
who've seen you through a lot. I very much know from first-hand experience how significantly adverse it is to lose a pet, and it's okay that that is horrible. And
Yeah.
yes, it's not a human, but it doesn't matter that it's not a human. It can be a valid experience of grief that's a different one that's still valid. And just
Exactly.
allowing yourself to know that it's valid and sit with that
And don't
grief.
compare
No.
to other people saying, "Oh, do I feel, am I wrong for feeling this deeply because other people might not react or have a day off work?" Your own grief is your own grief. It's your own experience. Whatever you feel is right, and know that and trust that and sit with confidence in it. So if you want a day, if you want a week off work, if you want just to never go to work again, that's also fine. This is your own. It can be your own best friend. It can
Yeah,
literally be that, like
exactly.
losing your best friend. So
Exactly.
appreciate it and give yourself time and patience.
Especially for people who have support or service dogs.
Oh my word.
There's a
Yeah.
whole other dynamic there to
Yep.
unpack in terms of the dependency and all of those things, which is
Of
just,
course.
must be, I can't even imagine
Traumatic.
how, yeah, traumatic that is.
Yep.
Next we have the
Talk about the loss
yeah.
itself. So speak about it. Again, when you're not comparing this loss to other people, how they'd react. If you are comparing it, you might feel like you don't feel comfortable to talk about it with anyone. Um, Sit comfortably in talking about it. This is grief. This is loss. Honor your lost pet by
Mhm.
speaking to people about the memories that you have with this pet.
Oh.
What are some good things that you can remember? What are some good memories that you have?
Mm.
Speak about it. It will keep the spirit of your pet alive.
Yeah.
Um, just because it's a pet and not a human doesn't mean that these feelings aren't valid.
Nope.
And yeah, it'll actually help you through speaking about it.
Yeah.
Move on.
And as with everything, speaking about it,
Of course,
it's so incredibly therapeutic
speak
in
about it.
general. Speak about it,
Speak
if not
about it.
journal about it. Unfortunately, you can't talk to your pet about it because
Oh God,
R.I.P.
they've gone.
But
Talk to your new pet that you get to help with the
yes,
loss.
maybe, or your second pet,
That would feel a bit weird,
or your
actually.
journal, or speak to someone.
Yes.
You get what we're saying. And then
Speak about it.
finally is that ritual or memorial. I think it's just beautiful to have that, honor of that pet and that little space for memory,
Yeah,
which is your little connection between you and them. You don't have to visit it all the time if it's upsetting, but when you just want to feel connected to them, and even if you're a spiritual person that might feel like that pet is partly there or whatever it is,
we have the
it's
apple
just
tree
nice. Do you?
in the garden when we buried Bonnie. That was her name. Yeah. We buried her under the apple tree when we were
That's
younger.
nice.
So now we always know that in the garden. It's just like an
Mm,
ode to
yeah,
her in the garden.
that's lovely.
Yeah.
I have well, I have an oil painting of Snoopy, but also um Ross and Nor, who have been mentioned several times on this podcast already.
Mm.
I went home for a minute while Snoopy was passing away for a while. They sent us some flowers, and on the flowers there was like this ribbon thing that came, or string that held the flowers together. On my keyring to this day, I still have that ribbon.
Really?
Um,
That's lovely.
yeah, it's just a little thing that I have.
That's
Just
super
reminds me
nice.
of
Mm.
not that horrible time, but it's just a little connection
It
I
can be an
have.
ode
Yeah,
to
humans love a
Snoopy.
little connection, don't they?
We do. We are
So
sentimental beings.
indeed. So there are some ways to not only improve or help with your well-being when it comes to pets in general and in acknowledging and being at one with
Yes.
pets, but also when it comes to the grief and loss of pets. I know it's a bit of
How you can
a
handle it.
hybrid session there, but didn't want to sort of
All are
neglect
valid.
one. All valid stuff.
All are valid. Hopefully, let us. I'd be really keen to know what your pet is. Genuinely, let us know the name, what it is, what your dream pet would be
Yeah.
if you wanted one.
And how you think your pet helps your well-being. Would love
Indeed.
to know that.
Of
So
course,
if you can, give us your pet, what it is,
a memory.
their name, and thirdly, how they improve or help with your well-being.
Yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Would be amazing.
Indeed.
Drop it in the comments.
Yes, it would be a nice mood boost to hear it.
Charlie,
Yes. Well,
what is your mood boost for the
my
week?
weekly mood boost. Well, as we've said in the beginning, we are pre-recording this episode, so when this goes out,
Oh, okay.
it'll actually be the one and only Dr.
Sure.
Marcus's birthday would have been since this would have come out. This would have released in a few weeks now. On the 17th of July, it would have been Marcus's 38th birthday.
38.
Happy birthday,
Bon
Marcus.
anniversaire.
38. He's not 38, 29.
Feliz birthday.
Feliz birthday, Marcus. Happy future birthday.
Thank you.
Hopefully, whatever has happened, it's been a good birthday.
Yeah, it was a great birthday. I had a
I'm
great
not there
time.
for it, so good luck.
I actually don't know what I'm doing. This is the worst I've ever been for a birthday, ironically, because we did a birthday episode about how you should celebrate your birthdays.
Yeah.
And this year, it's just no one's here.
I was giving it all the
There's
beans saying I'm great at birthdays and just
yeah,
disappear.
not no one's here, but a lot of people aren't here, and I usually have like a barbecue or whatever, like I said before. So now I'm
Yeah.
just stuck in my brain about what to do. And Mum's quite busy. She's got guests staying at the house
Mm.
there, so flip knows.
But that's my mood boost when this episode's out is your birthday would have just happened. So happy
Oh,
birthday. Can we get a round of
thanks so
applause?
much.
A HBD for Marcus Ball.
Big age of we don't
HBD.
need to say.
I already said.
HBD 38 to me.
I already said your age.
Thank you kindly.
Yeah,
Did you?
I did.
Nice. 38.
38.
Yeah. Here we go.
29.
Well, if you're asking me,
What's your weekly mood boost,
my mood
Marcus?
boost, our good friend Dima, I told him yesterday, to which his eyes lit up. I said, "You're going to be my mood boost tomorrow," and he went, "I can't wait." He just got a blue belt in jiu-jitsu.
Well done.
He leveled up. So he's at the next level of jiu-jitsu now. It's a long journey, so I learned yesterday, but he's one step further than what he was before, and that is what's incredible.
Yeah.
He's 2 steps further than where I would ever be. I think 2 steps, right?
Technically 5 because you need to get little rings
Oh,
on your white belt.
well, there you go, 5.
In
So
jiu-jitsu, the white to blue belt is a really big step in terms of skill, ability. You're like entering any level that you do in any sport is fantastic, but in jiu-jitsu, in my mind, from my limited experience, going from white to blue is, when it starts to get serious, when you really start to hone in on your skills. When I started as well, we were both white belts, and to see him go to a blue belt was fantastic because it's taken about a year and a half now, I think, for him. So
congratulations,
we
Dima.
walked in and it was just there hanging up. I was like, "What's this?" Then he's like, "Oh, I got it 2 weeks ago," and it's fantastic to see that because it's genuinely really really cool.
Yeah.
So
Congrats. Big up, Dima.
massive mood boost there. Well done, Dima.
Yes. Determination. What's the word? Consistency. Discipline.
It's all there.
All paid off. Now
Well
you're a
done,
blue
Dima.
belt.
Fantastic job.
Congrats.
I'd
Lovely
still
mood
win in a fight,
boosts.
but
Let us know your mood boosts.
Yes.
We want to hear them.
We want to
in the
hear what your mood
comments.
boost is. Comment it down.
Put them in the comments.
There you go.
Lovely job. Well, thank you, Charlie.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to talk about our pets and our well-being.
Lovely episode on pets. Lovely to learn more about your pets as well.
And you.
I've learned more.
About Peggy. I'm joking.
About Peggy and
Pepperoni.
Bon Anniversaire.
Yeah.
Those 2 pets.
Yeah. Beautiful episode.
Lovely episode.
Got a little bit teary there. Hope we don't mind. I don't care if you don't mind. I don't mind. So
this guy's crying for views. Don't get me started.
Get that teaser out there. Okay,
Here we go.
Do some ASMR while
I'll pause it.